morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Monday, October 20th, 2025. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Monday, everyone. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. Big time compression right now, as this market basically is trading just 43.5 points of range. It is trading in the upper portion of Friday's range and in the upper portion of last week's wide-ranging trading range. Remember, we had that impulse sell-off on the 2 Fridays ago, and price stayed within that impulse sell-off inside the boundaries of that the entirety of last week, but did so within a wide-ranging trading range. That's a high volatility style pattern right there, and we could still be stuck within the range. I mean, we're definitely still inside the range right now. But at the same time, when you look at this in a weekly time frame, when you look at this from a daily chart perspective and the trend we're in right now, it's hard to argue with the potential for an upside breakout down the way. But really, a breakout has to occur through that 67.50 zone, through previous week's highs. I mean, right now we haven't even done that just yet. And there's still the potential for a failure. If this thing drops back below the previous session's high, we could rotate back into the range below and still be a trading range market until proven otherwise. So we're building the energy for a great breakout move one way or another, likely to the upside. We mentioned Friday in our trading room that this could be a very bullish week to the upside. If this thing can find a way to break through recent highs here, it could really open up a trending style move here after last week's high volatility compression. All right, let's take a look here at the NQ. The NQ right here with a solid finish on Friday. Very, very solid finish. A rejection, a reversal back through the prior mids, but again, still within the trading range. 24.4 up to the 25.2 is the trading range. It's the center portion of that 2 Friday ago sell-off. We're right in the middle of that range, back and forth price action here, but with an upward bias still intact overall. Still an upward bias intact overall, but if we were to break through 24.4 down the road, that could be quite bearish. Perhaps if we see a big rejection up here at the previous week's high and we turn back down, that could be near-term bearish. So again, we're still inside the boundaries of last week's high volatility trading range. We're coming into that 25.2 level. That's going to be an important level. We may come through it just a little bit, but if we start to fail at the previous week's high, we may be stuck in that trading range yet again. So are we going to have enough juice to really cause a breakout early this week? That's going to be something we need to continue to watch. Now, taking a look here at crude oil. Down at the moment here, big time weakness overall, and really opening up selling pressure at the RTH open right now. Big time drop, 56.60 down to 56.05 on the low, pushing through that Friday midpoint. And if you look here, we're coming into those 54s we talked about before. This is a zone right here that has been tremendous support for a good long time, 54. We don't get down there very often, but we did get down there back in April. And again, right here just before the bounce. That's a spot right there where we could get to and maybe see a bounce. Again, I know I mentioned before, we're in a seasonal bearish trend right now. That window opened right about right here. We've been talking about that window for a while. We were hopeful we'd get a little bit of a rally before this move. We only got maybe 2 days, maybe 1 day, and then we've dropped hard. So what's going to happen once we get here? That's going to be the big key here. Even if we get a bounce like this, it could be another opportunity to push through. Maybe we're headed to 50. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Whenever we do find a low, there could be a bounce back again to the current midpoint of the month. There could be a bounce back toward the breakdown point and 60. And if 54 is the bottom end and we do find a low, technically speaking, there's a way to get back to 64, which is the next highest market structure level. Other than that, you're looking down to 44 now as the next market structure level below. So 54 is going to be very important here for crude oil. Looking at gold, up another 2.8% today. smoking higher yet again after and despite Friday's massive sell-off, but also the recovery late in the day. This is just a higher volatility version of what we've already seen. And like we've talked about before, every pullback, even one-day hard pullback, is still a buying opportunity, even in such an aggressive market already. This, for all intents and purposes, was a tremendous rejection. Outside day down, for all intents and purposes, was a blow off top, and still could be. But like I've mentioned before, despite any weakness here, this one is just not where you want to be selling right now. You could be trimming along the way, but this is a blistering rally right now in gold, and the rally continues. And after this move, to get back to the midpoint, perhaps a key range has developed. So 4,200 basically on the low end here, on the high end 4,400, and that's a new key range. This could stall prices for a little while if that's the case, but even then, again, hard to be counter trend against this blistering uptrend right now. This rally has been golden in gold. All right, taking a look here at the YM. This one right here, currently trading just 266 points of range, which is 37% of ADR, against the high volatility market we've seen. Ever since this huge high range day here, we've had increased volatility day over day for the last week of trading. The volatility previously had been way down here, and this was a trading range week with massive intraday swings, unlike anything we've seen in a good long while. Massive range. So far to begin the week here, to come in very quiet and range bound, we got to see how this thing works out early in the week. On the calendar for later on this Friday is CPI and core CPI. We'll see if we get to that this week. Existing home sales, initial jobless claims on the docket for Thursday. We have a lot of Fed talk, including Tuesday, Fed Waller. Thursday, Fed Vice Chair for Supervision Barr. So we do have some Fed speak there. On a Monday here, not a whole lot coming out. Business inventories, retail inventories, U.S. leading index are the big items there. So a fairly light week. If last week's range is going to hold court, we could be range bound some more until proven otherwise, and until we're able to really see expansion from this range. Again, likely to the upside, but if we break through these big pivot lows, that could be significant down the road. That Friday, 2 Fridays ago, gives us a big time key range, and that's the range we got to continue to watch. That's where the edges are. That's where the movement is right now. And once we get outside that key range, we have great targets to use as forecasted targets down the road. Looking at BTC, Bitcoin, this one big time bounce back as well. 4%. This was the big key right here. We talked about this a few weeks ago. If we fail here, we could drop to these lows, and we could drop right into this zone right here. And if we drop into that zone, it could be a very good short-term opportunity to the upside. Maybe if it's ready to break out, it could be a long-term opportunity as well. But clearly it could become a short-term opportunity. Now, Friday didn't look the best initially on the bounce. It took a while. It did finish strong and finish just above the mid. Really, the Sunday night open with the gap up, pull back and run, really stretches away from that Friday pivot low to give it a good quality low there. Not bad. Additionally, what you see here, right off the 200-day moving average, here is your year-to-date VWAP, and that's your previous quarter's low. That's a really good quality tandem right there, and that's why we mentioned 105. Down to 100 could be a good spot. Mentioned before, anything below 100 could be great. But if we are breaking down, then there was the potential to get into 90. How deep did we go? If we got to 90, then did we go to 75 by breaking through 100? So it's going to be very interesting to see how that progression goes, even in the current move down. Again, keeping an eye on the previous session's high. If there's any failure here, this could be a failed high in a current down move. So There are some potential risks here up ahead from the buy side perspective, but that's a great spot for bulls to be defending for a short-term reaction. And early bulls right now getting paid with the gap up on a Sunday evening and a push higher. Can this market stay above 105 here? If so, 115 and 125 could be ahead from just a short-term perspective within the boundaries of this developing trading range. Looking at ETH, this one having an even bigger bounce back. This one's up 5.4% today, and you're seeing a similar response here. Again, not the greatest response Friday. Initially was a decent one. It fell back pretty hard. It was back and forth, but finished the day on the highs of the afternoon. At the end of it, you have that key range here, and you have this key range there. Two key ranges, one from a day and one from this impulse rally here. Both of them ultimately rejected. You have your 25% extension here, which can tend to be the best fade, and the gap up and hold as of right now. That's not bad, and that's after prices got as low as 36.85, nearly into the 3600 level here. That would have been a 1200 point drop here. That's a zone that's very close to the previous quarter's midpoint. It's a really, really good responsive zone, especially with this current style market that we have right now. Is this going to bounce it back up toward 45, 46 up ahead for a near-term rally? Or do we fail at some point here and really open up the downside? So again, great start to the week for bulls here in the crypto space. That could also influence crypto stocks, Bitcoin miners, etc. But right now, any hold here at this edge, call it 3,800, 38 and a quarter, opens up 43.10, 4,300. And remember, if we can get above 43, that opens up that 48 up above. So keeping an eye on this edge in ETH. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out here heading into the new week of trading. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.